Hello there everyone, Blue here back with some more coverage of our Hideaway League, and we have a Poison Gym battle with Challenger Joe going up against Leader Feox. And if you got a quick look at that team, you'll notice that the Challenger has wisely brought along 2 ground types and a Psychic / Steel type being Metagross. So Poison, as you should quite probably know, has got 2 main type weaknesses that Feox here has to overcome. And this video, it's actually slowed down, it's being played at real speed because I'm going to run through it and we'll make it quite educational, or as educational as I can possibly make it. So we'll watch the video now. They both have led with Landorus and with Nidoking, and both trainers withdrew their Pokemon immediately. What does that tell you? It tells you that both were afraid that the other was going to outspeed them, because both of those Pokemon are likely candidates for Choice Scarf. Neither has the Choice Scarf though. Both were afraid that they were going to get one hit by either an Earthquake or an Ice Beam, and they both swapped out. So we went straight into Weezing in order to avoid the Earthquake we thought was going to come on the Poison side, and our opponent has swapped into Kyogre to take an Ice Beam, but we can't allow Weezing to die, so we swap out Weezing, we bring in Amoonguss because Amoonguss can take these hits that this thing's going to throw out. So our opponent wisely knows that we can't stay in with the Weezing, and he goes for a Calm Mind because that's a free turn to set up. If you know your opponent is going to switch, you have a stat boosting move, go for it, or predict a super effective hit against whatever he's likely to bring in. So he throws out an Ice Beam thinking he's going to bring in something else, or simply because it's the best move to hit the Amoonguss with, but Amoonguss is able to survive it, goes with a Spore. Now some players would stay in and go for Giga Drain after Giga Drain to try and bring Amoonguss back up. We're not worried about that. We'll sack off Amoonguss later on. It's done its job, it's put something to sleep, and now it can die for all we care. So we get the opportunity to go into Beedrill. I'm sorry Amoonguss fans, if all 1 or 2 of you out there who may have got a little upset at that, but we go into Beedrill. So what you could have done with a sleeping opponent on the other side of the field is go straight for a Poison Jab, or dare I say Knockoff, but Knockoff can't remove a Primal Stone, so Poison Jab would probably be great. But going for the safe play means you go for Protect, so when you Mega Evolve you get bonus speed on your Mega Evolution in some Pokemon. Beedrill gets a lot of speed, but you don't get that speed on the first turn, you only get it after Mega Evolving, so you go Protect immediately, that lets you get into the start of the next turn, then you outspeed everything, then he goes for a U-turn to get out, because he knows he's not going to one-hit KO Kyogre with any of his moves. And there's no point in doing half of the damage to Kyogre and then dying yourself. So you turn into Drapion and let Drapion die. So he's already allowed Amoonguss to take a massive hit because it gave him the opportunity to put it to sleep, and it kept the Weezing alive. He has allowed Drapion to take a massive hit because it kept the Beedrill alive. So don't be afraid to essentially sack off other Pokemon if it means you can keep your prized and most important Pokemon safe from taking hits it doesn't need to. So we swap out again, we go into the Weezing, and this is why we want to keep our Weezing. Against 2 ground types, we really want to have Weezing because it has Will-O-Wisp, it has Levitate, and between those alone, it is able to wall pretty much every single physically attacking ground type in the game, because for coverage, they usually only have things like Stone Edge that we just see here. And once burned, Stone Edge is not going to do anywhere near enough damage. So what does Feox do here? Well, we can keep trying with things like Protect to try and stall them out. It doesn't appear that we have Protect, so instead we keep going for Will-O-Wisp. Why Will-O-Wisp against an already burned opponent? Well, it locks our opponent into doing no damage. So their opponent has to stay in and keep going for Stone Edge, which may miss or do no damage, or he has to swap out into something else which will then take a burn. So he now goes for the Stone Edge, we predict that, and you know, it's harmless, it's a harmless Stone Edge. He knows he's not going to go for an Earthquake against a Weezing, so it's very safe to bring in Nidoking now. So Nidoking's in, it's got the opportunity to do whatever it wants, but our opponent brings in Kyogre. Now, can we one-shot a Kyogre at half health? Think about how much special defense this thing has. No, we cannot. And he wants to keep this for later on because he wants to have it against Metagross. He wants that Earth Power against Tyranitar. He wants it, you know. You can't blame him. It's going to be a good special attacker. It's going to balance out Beedrill very well. So we do actually survive it with 3 HP points, which is weird. I assumed, and I think Feox was probably guessing as well, that we would simply swap it in and allow it to die because it's going to get outsped anyway, so it gets knocked down. So our opponent had the option there of either going for an attack against the 3 HP Amoonguss and killing it off, which would obviously allow Beedrill to come back in again, or going for a calm mind and allowing Amoonguss to put it back to sleep again, which is obviously even worse for our opponent. So he does the wise thing, takes out the Amoonguss, but loses his Kyogre in return. So this is how you correctly use a very fast attacking Pokemon like this, especially if it gets a U-turn, and it's a stab adaptability U-turn to boot. Mega Beedrill, bring it in, U-turn on something, swap back out, and that's it. So if you do get the opportunity against a Beedrill, put up Stealth Rocks, put up any entry hazards you can, so it basically kills itself by doing what it wants to do, swapping in and out consistently. So we have Nidoking finally on the field, and this thing is going to be special attacking, and if it doesn't have the Choice Scarf, then it's going to be Life Orb. Life Orb, Earth Power. I thought it would have actually one-hit KO'd this thing, but it turns out it doesn't. It gets hit with a stab, super effective, and it's a crit of all things. It's going to go down. I don't think the crit mattered. Mega Metagross has a massive amount of attack. Zen Headbutt getting stab off of that massive attack is going to bring it down, especially since Nidoking is so weak. Now, if he swaps out the Metagross there, it appears that he was expecting another U-turn to come in, so he brings in his Landorus. That's a very good counter because Landorus gets the Intimidate. It has the Flying typing, so it's going to resist that. And I believe Ground resists Bug as well, so it's 4 times resisted, and it has an Intimidate, which means Landorus is now the counter on our opponent's team to Beedrill. So what do? Swap into our physical tank with Levitate that can handle ground types. So we can see how there's team composition here. We have Beedrill that wants to do what it can. It can't get through these physical tanks, but Weezing can handle these ground types and the physical tanks and the physical attackers for Beedrill. It swaps in, it has Will-O-Wisp to burn things, and I know that this one actually has Flamethrower, so all we need to do is take down a Landorus, and then Beedrill has free reign to do whatever it wants to our opponent. So we just keep spamming out the Flamethrower, because our opponent is either going to swap into Tyranitar, which actually could be quite troublesome, swaps into Metagross, which gets one-shot by a Flamethrower, or yeah, I mean, he doesn't really want to swap into Tyranitar at this point because he's just going to get another burn, and a burn on Tyranitar would absolutely ruin it as well. So our opponent stays in, he's going for the knockoff, he's trying to break this Weezing, which really, unfortunately, just is not going to happen. Weezing is really, really bulky on the physical side, it's not going to care. And so, with Landorus down, there's now very, very few options against this Beedrill. Our opponent does have Mega Metagross, and there's the potential to have Bullet Punch, which could do quite a bit if he can get some chip damage onto this thing. But there goes the Weezing. That's the Psychic type hit. That's what Weezing's afraid of. And unfortunately, since there's no Drapion, our team has been picked apart a little bit. We've got no Drapion in place to protect the Weezing from Psychic hits, so you can open up against the Weezing that way. And we have Drill Run, so Drill Run does take down Metagross. Obviously, you can't really hit it with Poison Jab because it's immune. He doesn't want to use U-turn because he doesn't want to swap into anything else right now. He wants to be in with the Beedrill against what our opponent brings in next. So we have a Tyranitar on the field, and wait till you see this for a hit, folks. This is massive. I had no idea you could straight up one-shot, not a crit, nothing. Straight up one-shot a Tyranitar. Amazing. So Beedrill swaps back out, it's safe yet again, we can go into anything else. Our opponent is down now to the last Pokemon, being Jolteon. So Jolteon is fast, and it's a good special attacker, but Arceus is, dare I say, as bulky as you can really get. 120 HP, 120 defense, 120 special defense is massive, and it does take a good chunk from this thing, which makes me think, is it maybe Choice Specs Jolteon? Would probably work quite well because you've already got the speed, you don't need to scarf it, and you can just specs into whatever's going to be a super effective hit, get a lot of damage in. But we're both going to take chip damage from the sand. Thunderbolt is going to knock it out, but then we swap into Mega Beedrill once more. And for anyone watching this who wonders, the Hideaway rules are obviously played with 1 Uber each. You're allowed 1 Uber in your team each. Kind of acts like a mascot, it adds a bit of spice, flavor, bit of flavor to things, and obviously we have Poison type Arceus and he had Primal Kyogre, but Beedrill is fast enough to take down Jolteon, which should show you just how damn fast that thing actually is. And there we go. So commiserations to Joe, that was a fantastic battle and a great fight against our Poison Gym Leader, who's no slouch either. So if you want to see some more of these battles, and if you want to see yourself featured in them, by all means do challenge our gym leaders, and especially if you win, feel free to tell them to send me the code. because then you get bragging rights and you get to show it off on the group that, you know, you can beat the gym leaders. And who doesn't like to do that? So thanks very much for watching, folks. Have a great holidays. I'll see you later for more stuff. Bye bye.